Hey, everybody, it's Matt Michaels here on the DeFalco Files with the owner and creator of Future Stars of Wrestling. That's FSW here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And this is Mr. Joe DeFalco. Joe, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. Got a chance to rest after the excitingly long wrestling weekend. And it's good to see our guest on because I wasn't sure he'd still be alive after Saturday night. So.
Our guest today, for those who don't know the work of Eli Everfly, you have to go and watch GCW, go online, watch anything that's out there on YouTube, look at the FSW network, because Eli, you do some of the most daring stuff. And might I say, one of the best things about you is not only is it daring, but you always have it where it makes sense in the match. You're not doing spots just to do spots. How did you, just first off the bat, how did you decide not only are you going to be a wrestler, but hey, I have no fear in doing some of these big spots? Was that something that you envisioned yourself doing from a young age?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I think it all started, I guess, like, because my mom, she used to like let me rent VHS tapes and stuff, like at Blockbuster. And then I remember the Hardys, and there's this like whole like VHS about like the Hardys and the Dudleys and Edge and Christian, and like about it led up to like the ladder match and everything. And then I just remember like that being like my favorite VHS. And yeah, it was my favorite. Yeah, I still have it too. Yeah, I have it. We ended up getting it, but yeah. And I just remember that watching those matches, it made me feel something, like
Sure.
different than all the other matches that I was watching. That was, at the time. It was really different. And then I remember when like Jeff Hardy jumped off the ladder onto a table. Yeah, it was amazing. And like I remember at that like very like point in time in my life, I was like just contemplating about being a professional wrestler when I grew up. I was thinking like, man, I really want to do this because I want to make people feel what I feel. Like nothing makes me
Sure.
feel this way. I was really into sports like basketball,
Yeah.
Soccer. I was like, I was a kid into sports, but nothing made me feel like what wrestling made me feel, and
Sure.
especially those matches, So I think that's kind of where I implement, hardcore wrestling or, the high flying maneuvers or like the daring stunts that I do into my matches. It just comes from doing what I love, and I just like, I love making people feel what I, feel what, kind of like, I love people. I love making people feel how I felt when I saw those matches.
Yeah. No,
Yeah. And I try to get as close as I possibly can to doing that. Per se, like if we're low, if I'm lower in the card, obviously I'm not gonna go balls to the wall. But like I guess like the higher I get, the more up I could do my my stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Joe, speaking about taking an emotion, getting something from the audience, when was the first time you saw Eli, and did you feel something that made you go, ooh, I'd love to have this guy on our shows?
I think Eli came down with Che and Tito years ago, and maybe Doug. I'm not even sure which guys it was.
Yeah.
I knew of Eli. I didn't really see a lot of the stuff. And it was funny because I remember I always say, after the show, I threw him a very small stipend, I guess you can say. And his response to me was like, hey, bro, I don't even care if you pay me. I just want to get on the shows if you could do that. And that always kind of stuck in me. And we kind of utilized him in different situations and different stuff. And I remember him and Jacob Austin Young having a phenomenal no limits title match. And as you know, with the FSW fans, it's hard to get them to get behind somebody who they don't see very often. They have a lot of passion for a guy who might be on the pre-show match every show because he's nowhere near ready, but they'll show him more love than somebody like Eli who shows up, and then they'll go crazy over a couple certain things that he's done.
Right.
So, you know, everything happened. There was the pandemic. There was a couple times we tried to get him booked with you know, Doomfly, and we just weren't able to get him on a regular basis. And then recently, when we started really getting back to bringing in, you know, besides Hammerstone and Graves, you know, I always was a fan of Tito and Brandon Gatson and Eli. And we kind of got him in some matches that all of a sudden, like, he opened people's eyes. And the one thing I love about Eli Everfly is because most people, all they talk about is all the crazy shit he's going to do. And, oh my God, can you believe he did that? But when you watch a match like he had with Hyperstreak and Jai Vidal, the fact that he utilizes his submissions and his mat work, it reminds me of Teddy Hart. One thing about Teddy Hart, when Teddy Hart trained, was as cool as his high flying stuff was, he can put you in any hold anywhere in the ring. And Eli's one of those guys. And I love his work more. Believe me, I love seeing all the crazy shit, but when he flips a guy around out of nowhere and puts him into this crazy submission move, that's what I pop for, you know? And fortunately, we've had him on a frequent basis. And with Parada not being there, it was a perfect setup, especially after the phenomenal match him and Jai Vidal had, to put them in a tag team. And with the card that we had on that show this past weekend, you know, if you look at what we've checked out, hey, what was your favorite match? You know, most people said it was the Unguided against Jai Vidal and Eli Everfly. A few weeks ago, you know, people are talking about Eli and Jay for the match of the year. And 3 weeks before that, they were talking about Hyperstreak and Eli Everfly in the match of the year. So it's like the crowd all of a sudden, and then everybody who watched the GCW show, that was fucking insanity, that 6-man match that they wrestled. It was just crazy. And it was nice for me to just sit there, and I was hoping, you know, Damian Drake didn't have to get rushed to the ER after the match. I didn't see the Eli off the balcony till the next day when it was like posted. I was like, oh shit, I didn't know he did that too. And that's just a crazy motherfucker. So usually you're one or the other, and Eli's blessed to be both.
Yeah. Eli, did the mat stuff, who do you credit at Santino Brothers for, you know, kind of steering you in that direction so that you weren't just a one-dimensional competitor?
Well, like, I did like wrestling in high school all 4 years and stuff. And,
Okay.
like, my senior year, I was like the captain of my high school wrestling team in San Gabriel, and
Nice.
like, at 103 too. Yeah,
He
and
was
then
beating
you know,
the
like, I
super
did jiu-jitsu
heavyweights
for 6 years. Yeah, I did like jiu-jitsu for 6 years, and then you know, started wrestling. But I think like a lot of it came from that. You know, like
Sure.
everything just kind of came natural. You know, and but like at Santino's, I don't know. I think I'd credit Robbie Phoenix because he really was in the ring with me most of the time. Like Joey's more like the money guy and the behind the scenes guy, and he's kind of getting everything together, you know. But yeah, Robbie really kind of like helped me, you know, helped me put it all together, I would say, you know. And he kind of like would tell me, you know, who to watch, who's good and who's like new too, you know.
Right.
You know, like when I first came in, I was like literally just like a mark for like WWE, you know. Like I didn't really know too much about indie wrestling. I knew about like Ring of Honor kind of, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, and like, you know, like CZW kind of. But yeah, yeah, Robbie kind of like steered me into the direction of who to watch, and you know, guys who were like, you know, kind of like underground per se. Yeah.
Sure.
But, yeah.
And Joe, with Santino Brothers, I know you guys have had kind of a little bit of a working relationship in the past. What is it to you that makes how did you forge the relationship, and then B, what makes their wrestlers, people that you are absolutely willing to roll the dice on? Is it just the personalities, their way they do matches? Um, what is it most about those wrestlers that it shows they can be on an FSW card and be successful in doing what their job is?
Well, what you got to understand is, like FSW, a lot of our guys, they'll go out and you'll see, as I jokingly say, Arizona Wrestling Federation should be called FSW Arizona. And a lot of our guys go in as groups, and they're utilized a lot on other shows. And Santino's is one of the only other wrestling schools I know that it was like, I'm pretty sure, I think I had Willie Mack and Ray Rosas. They were doing, at the time, probably an FSW Arizona show. So we were running the next day. And I hadn't really used Rosas at all. And Willie Mack had mentioned, hey, Ray's going to be with me, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we got him in. Then we had Ray on for a while. And then we had Tito. And then those guys brought Che. And those guys brought Eli. And they brought Douglas. And they brought Heather Monroe. And they brought Lucas Riley. And they would just, you could just see that when a guy like Che and Tito, or before Che, when a guy like Tito recommends somebody, that takes precedent with me over the 100 emails I get from somebody wanting to work for FSW.
Sure.
If somebody's going to put their relationship with me, their reputation for somebody, I'm pretty certain that I'm going to be happy with the guy they brought me. And as you can see of the progression, we continually use probably more Santino guys outside the FSW locals than any other, group of guys or girls, that we use anywhere. So obviously the work ethic is there. Obviously, we don't really like people whose ego is out the door. They're assholes in the back. Generally we have a really good locker room with people who get along, and everybody, instead of, hoping maybe somebody gets hurt or whatever it is, everybody's striving to have the best match. Because in an FSW show, we had a pre-show, Hero, Lou, and Class. That's a main match normally on a show. We had 3 matches that could have been in the main event at least, on this past, Friday night. So anybody who gets to work FSW, it's really a privilege. This show, we weren't able to incorporate very many of the kids. We wanted to have a casino show, yet we were still doing it at the FSW arena. And, it was a packed house. Through the distancing, we couldn't add any more seats. Thankfully, now we can add a few more. But for our anniversary show, there's definitely not enough seats for what we're bringing to the table. And after seeing everything in the last weeks, in the last month or so, I guess it was now 2 years ago, we did the Limitless tournament when we were working with this company that really washed out Lucha Las Vegas, Lucha LA.
Oh, yeah, LA Lucha, yeah.
Yeah, LA Lucha, yeah. Turned out not to be, we were trying to strive to work with people, and we thought it would be good especially for them, but we liked the idea. We did a 2-night show, and everything worked out well, but, at the end of the day, they were trying to say I was supposed to pay the guys for their show. It was like, what are you guys talking about? And it was just, a lot of bad business. But we had Adrian Quest, we had Jake Atlas, we had Chris Bay, we had Eli, we had Matt Vandergrift, Damian Drake, Douglas James. It was a super little 2-night thing. And now with guys like Jack Cartwheel in the mix and Jai Vidal, we're looking to do another Limitless, tournament featuring the best flyers. But we're also getting guys like, Lee Moriarty and Fuego del Sol and stuff like that, wanting to be a part of this, and we really think we can make this something special. I remember a few years ago, Brian Kendrick did King of Flight, and he brought in like Ricochet and Swan and London and all these motherfuckers, and it was like, oh, this is awesome. And I'm trying to do it a little bit more without the big names, because obviously budgets and things like that. But these are a lot of people that are fantastic, that maybe the mass audience only knows very little about some of these guys. And we're hoping, as we continue to grow and we work with GCW and we work with Impact, and we're talking with CZW actually about doing a joint show here in Vegas. So there's a lot of great things, because we want to blow up, man. I watch GCW and it's like, man, these guys have such a phenomenal reach. There was a lot of people from California and stuff that came all the way to Vegas to watch their show, and it kind of rubbed off where we got people we've never seen before who bought tickets. So yeah. I'm really going to pitch hard for next time, because I think the atmosphere in Vegas will be phenomenal for an FSW versus GCW show.
Absolutely. In fact, being in that crowd, one of the most entertaining things was watching and listening the FSW fans versus the GCW fans, when you had a main event that had Hammerstone as the champion of FSW going against Jordan Oliver, who was their guy for GCW, and it was amazing, that atmosphere. Eli, let me ask you about that. What did you feel from that crowd? As Joe said, this is basically the first, or I should say the biggest crowd, the first since the pandemic has kind of given away so that more people could get in. What does that do for you as a performer in terms of, just feeding off that energy? Because you guys, again, I cannot stress, please, if people have not seen this card, it was changing the game. It is available on FITE TV, and it was an amazing match. Jai Vidal, Eli Everfly versus the Unguided for the FSW Tag Team Championships. Now I'll throw the question back to you, Eli. What is that like, man?
Not having an audience there, for a couple of shows that I have done since the pandemic, because I wasn't working too much.
Sure.
But not having anybody there, it did feel more like practice. I felt like I was at Santino's in open ring, and a lot of times there were like few people, in the audience, just to be there. Like I remember I did a VXX show and there was like practically nobody there. And I did a couple of shows like that. But yeah, the last FSW show, changing the game. It was really relieving, I would say, because we did get to feel the audience, especially like when I came out, like I got a pop, so that was cool, and that was a good feeling, that always is a good feeling. And then just the radiating, off the audience, every time like I move my hands up, or I do my pose, just, seeing them going, yeah, and they're there, and they could like, they're seeing me and I'm looking at them in the eyes, trying to look at everybody, and, we're connecting. And then, it does make the match a lot more better, and then especially like, when I'm firing up, or I'm ready to make that hot tag, and then, or when the moments come and I need to come alive, I do feel the crowd, and man, it makes coming alive, it makes your comeback, it makes like the hot tag, it makes everything a lot better because the audience is there to feel that energy, and it just and your adrenaline flows a lot more,
Sure.
Adrenaline flows a lot more. Yeah, everything is just is a lot more fluent. If you're tired, all of a sudden you just get that burst of energy where you're not tired anymore, because you're feeling it, you're there in the moment. And so, and all that happened definitely in the match. this Friday. Yeah.
Let me ask you, Joe, speaking of that match, does having a guy like Jai Vidal and the fact that he is just so over with the fans, does that then bring the idea to you, since his tag partner isn't available, product couldn't be there, someone like Eli is the perfect fit to just, kind of, uh, I'm losing the word here, but to just play off of Jay and those two inner working, giving the crowd then something to really cheer about, especially because a team like the Unguided is a homegrown team that fans, even though they are trying to be the heels in the match, fans will still pop for them like they're baby faces. Is that kind of a key, is finding two bigger baby faces to then hopefully get the heel tag team to have a little more heat?
Well, see, the issue became without Parada, it was like, unless we bring another person in, and the card's stacked and we got the people, and it's like, well, we need to pick somebody from the scramble match because it kind of fits, because that match is the same style that we're looking for when you're going to see Unguided and Jai Vidal. And, right. Brandon Gatson, Adrian Quest, awesome. But they've had no interactions with Jai Vidal at all. Okay. Funny Bone, he is over as fuck, obviously, but he had no interactions. So Eli became the perfect choice. Eli has basically come in and he's worked a lot of the baby faces. So technically Eli is the heel. But being that he does such super cool shit, there are people, and everybody likes the heels anyway. Like myself, I was always a bigger, I loved Rick Rude, I loved Jake the Snake. I hated Hulk Hogan, you know what I mean? It's like, I would always root for the heel, So being that those guys just came off a match of the year candidate, you had to be the perfect choice, because there was a lot of respect shown to Eli that probably hadn't been in the past after his match. It kind of started with the Hyper Streak match, and then the ladder match too. And with Jay, it was like they see a kid who's willing to put basically his fucking life on the line to entertain. Heel face doesn't matter. People are going to respect that. So that made me believe, you know what? Eli can easily transition and not have to do something heroic to be a babyface. They were looking at it like, oh shit, Eli Everfly and Jai Vidal against the Unguided. This should be fucking awesome. It was an easy decision. I remember bringing it up. I'm like, hey, Joey, because we were talking about, at first the Bad Bitches and Effie, since he was in town, against Lights Camera Faction. And then it was like, well, after Jay beat Vandergriff at one of the earlier shows the month before, it was a perfect setup for the tag match. So with Parada and I being there, we were talking about maybe moving Jai Vidal into the scramble match. It would have been great. But it was like, okay, now who do the Unguided wrestle? You know what I mean? So it was like Eli going into that spot was the perfect fit. And a team that never tag teamed before, and a lot of people think they had the match of the night. So it just goes to show, the ability that these guys have. And it's like, in a perfect world, boy, I'd keep them together as a tag team. But these guys are, are too good to be put in that situation. I've always been a fan of those scramble matches, 4 and 5 ways, balls to the wall, you guys, and kill it. And, and we have that opportunity now with, adding Adrian Quest back into the mix. And, he was always good, but man, he's really gotten even better. I guess you can credit New Japan for that, working those shows. And Adrian Quest is at a different level. I always had problems with him. I'd say, hey, bro, I need you to be the heel, blah, blah, blah. And he'd kind of work a different style. And I'm like, bro, I didn't bring you in here to punch and kick and be a bad guy. Like, do your cool shit. It's like, if you're not going to do your cool shit, I might as well just bring Eli Everfly back. You know what I mean?
Well, speaking of that, Eli, that is a very interesting point that I don't think a lot of wrestling fans think of in this kind of mind frame. But for you, do you feel that sometimes you can kind of look at it as if a band goes onto stage and the fans want to see the greatest hits? Do you feel that you have to, deliver some of those greatest hits so that they just get what they've paid for essentially, but you can still kind of throw in some of the lower cuts on the album so that you are fulfilling yourself too and telling the story in the match?
Yeah, I actually got that from Brian Kendrick, exactly what you're saying, because that was a question that I asked him when I was training with him.
Sure.
I was like, what do I do when I'm a heel? Because I feel like I do like all these like cool moves and stuff. And, I'm listening to these podcasts and stuff, and all these old timers are saying, you can't, be doing flashy things and, be doing arm drags and stuff, and being a heel as well. And Brian Kendrick he just told me, he's like, no, still do your moves. It's just they're gonna change at what point you do them in the match. Like if I'm gonna like I do like I do a dive, and if I do a dive during my comeback, I'm not gonna do a dive, during I don't have a comeback if I'm a heel, but
Right.
I'll do a dive as a cutoff, I'll I'll cheap shot the dude on the outside and dive onto him, and it's still me doing my thing, but it just
Right.
more like tenaciously, I guess, it's a little more different, and I just yeah, so I do have to do my greatest hits. I do like see myself as like a band, and people want to see like the moves that they see on the internet, like I'd always say like, man, well, like when I was a kid, like one of my favorite matches was that Hell in a Cell match with like the Undertaker and Mankind, and
Yeah.
every time I would see a Hell in a Cell match, that was always the bar, right? And no one really ever met that bar, and I just remember feeling really disappointed, and I know wrestling fans get disappointed when they have high expectations and you don't meet those expectations, so I definitely like every match I do have to somewhat meet their expectations,
Sure.
if they see me on the internet doing, flips to the outside, or, like things on the apron, or like these cool lucha maneuvers, and I don't deliver that, then I think they're going to think very differently of me. So heel or face, I do like just have a way to just put my moves where they belong, I guess, and just, still do what I do, but and I still like heel or face. I still have like somewhat the same attitude. I just don't aggravate the audience. I don't like I don't nitpick little things. But yeah, it stays the same. I would say like my I still play my music. I still play my greatest hits.
Sure. Yeah.
And thankfully, he doesn't spit on the customers anymore. So that's always.
Oh yeah. It's been a while. Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Time out. Now, you say that, Joe, but the
now you want the story.
I do want the story, because there was the spot very early on when Eli, you just let a mouthful just go up, and Garth from Finley Mazda, sitting in his chair ringside there, almost got a shower full of that Everfly juice. So what's the story behind this? Joe or Eli, who wants to go into it?
In Eli's early days in FSW, we did a show at Sam's Town, and I didn't really know anything of it until after the show, when the parents were complaining about Eli Everfly. And I guess he was walking down the ramp, and his side of the story was he had Cheetos in his mouth, I guess the fire Cheetos, and claimed he was spitting it at the guardrail, but I guess it somehow splashed all over the kid. and they were a little unhappy with that, and we had to schmooze it, and we did, but yeah, it was like, dude. And then I think it happened once at the FSW arena. There was a kid there that used to come all the time, and he was an annoying fucker. I will give you that. That I think Eli walked around and the guy must have said something, and Eli kind of spit at him. But he's much more mature these days. Thanks to Delilah, he's much more mature.
Yeah, I do remember the hot Cheeto incident, and I ate a bag of hot Cheetos before like the match, like probably like 30 minutes before the match, and I did like spit to the side, and I think it landed on some kid's hand or something, and he
right, but because it was red, the parents thought you ended up spitting blood on them.
Yeah,
so that's why they, I guess, kind of went berserk.
Yeah, and then like I remember like Rocky T made me apologize to them, and then I was just like a child. Like he brought me to like the principal's office. Yeah.
Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, that is amazing. Joe, you brought up Delilah. Eli, how's it been for you? Did you guys create Doomfly just to be able to, since you guys were, going to shows together, how did it come about in terms of you guys becoming a mixed tag team?
Well, I guess like it started at Santino Bros, because I kind of was just like, hey, do you want to do a tag against Los Luchas? Because we're always training with Los Luchas, and like I was like the booker, and I was just like, okay, let's just do a random, for like, at Santino Bro show,
So and wait. So the moral of this right off the bat is, if you're booking matches and you see a cute girl, hey, let's become a tag team.
Yeah. Oh no. Well, no. Like we were already dating and everything.
Okay. All right.
We were already dating, and we were like engaged already and everything.
Okay.
But then, So then, we were training with Los Luchas all the time. So I was just like, hey, wouldn't it be fun if it was just like me and you? Because everybody knows we're together,
Yeah.
And then when I booked it, like Bar Wrestling saw, and then Bar Wrestling ended up booking me and Delilah against Joey Janela and Penelope Ford, so they beat us to the punch, because our show was in February and their show was in January, So like right when they saw that, and then I remember I put, I didn't even put Doomfly or anything like that, and I think I just put like, Eli Everfly and Delilah Doom, and then, Bar Wrestling put, Doomfly, I guess because, we were asked and we gave it like a bunch of names, like stupid stuff, we didn't even care, and then, and then it ended up like being good, because that match is like, like it was ended up, doing very well on the internet, like 100,000 views or something, and and ever since then, like it just kicked off because people just really liked that match, and then we just kept getting booked, that's pretty much where it started. It started like it was an accident, like we weren't, we just wanted to be cute and have like a match, just like, hey, just say we did it, we've tagged, with each other before, but then we ended up,
and then Doomfly caused a lot of heat with Brian Cage at Impact when they beat him in a handicap match there too.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah, I remember Impact gave Brian Cage a lot of heat because you guys beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, it was a handicap match.
Yeah, but he was like the Impact champion, and they went kind of crazy over that.
Well, it was his idea, to be fair,
Oh, it always is.
Yeah. It was his idea, and he wanted to have, he wanted to lead to a tag match with Melissa eventually, because he wanted Melissa to get in on it, Yeah.
Joe, speaking of Delilah, is she someone that you could see potentially utilizing if, let's say, the belt moves on to a Sandra Moon or, a younger talent? is someone like Delilah someone you could call on to potentially give a good match for a younger wrestler?
Well, Delilah's worked a few of our women's shows, and she's worked a couple of the other shows. Actually, at the last women's show, we were trying to have Doomfly against Sandra Moon and Jai Vidal, actually, and they were just not available for that show. So we've always been in touch with her about trying to get her on shows when it's available. So yeah, we definitely plan on using her down the line, whether it's in a tag or it's in a singles match.
And Eli, for you, is it just is it really nice, not only having, her there as, let's say, a travel partner, and of course, just being part of your life, but also, is it good having someone who understands what you're going through because she goes through it as well?
Yeah, is like before her, like I like would just date outside of wrestling,
Right.
I feel like all the other girls I dated really didn't understand it, they didn't really understand why I sacrificed so much or why I was just gonna be gone, or and then like they just didn't get it,
Right.
and then like she was like the first girl I started like dating inside of wrestling, and like the only one, still. Uh yeah, and yeah, we like definitely understand each other a lot more, and like I could like actually talk to her about like what's going on, because like majority of the time I just talk about wrestling. Like everything that comes out of my mouth is about wrestling, And yeah, it just the way I am, and but she understands me, So it is good, and like a lot of times, like if I get booked, she'll get booked too, or like vice versa, Uh, yeah, so it's been really good to have somebody who just is there and understands what's going on in my life. Yeah.
Along the same lines, Joe, uh, what would you do if your wife worked alongside you at FSW?
Well, she did for a long time. She was, she was a stern, work in the front, not let people fuck around trying to sneak in. She ran the merch. That was the easiest time because, that's the one you trust. A
Right.
lot of times, unfortunately, things have come up missing at the school, and it always happens. There's always going to be a piece of shit somewhere, and it's a shame. Brett the Thread, he was getting ready for his match, and somehow his beats disappeared. And what's even worse, it seems like it happened during the kids' class, so it's possible one of the kids swiped it.
Oh,
Oh, and
those
you
damn
know,
children.
yeah, it's unfortunate, but people are, a lot of people, well, hopefully not a lot of people, but some people will take advantage of a situation. One of the wrestlers left his wallet there, and it was like, oh, geez, somebody stole his fucking wallet, but it turned out it fell somewhere and we found it, which was good. But in the past, we've had a few incidents where, not everybody's trustworthy. And
Yep.
that's the thing. I try to put my trust in everybody that's there. And, a piece of shit is always a piece of shit. They're going to cover it up and make it seem like they're a good person. But, as we've seen in this business over the last few years, and even at FSW, there's a few bad apples that people thought, nothing of until stuff came out.
Yeah. Um, that's just a shame, period, that, you know, we have to be in that situation. Um, and Eli, for you, you're becoming one of the regulars. When you look at some of the people on the roster, are there one or two people that stick out to you as either someone you'd like to tag with or someone you'd like to wrestle in the ring?
Um, yeah. I mean, not like I wouldn't say tag,
Hmm.
Well, I could tag with anybody, that's
Right.
kind of my forte, yeah. But Like work with, I'd want a one-on-one with Damian Drake again, because we wrestled each other in Ground Zero, but
Okay.
it was good. But I feel like now we've both grown, and we could just, or everything would be a lot different, and we'd go about things differently too. I
Right.
think Damian Drake definitely. Hmm.
I think him and
I
Jack
know.
will be one of the most
Oh
entertaining.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Jack definitely. Even like Ice Williams too. I just love the way he sells. Such a good. He just sounds awesome. Yeah, he makes moments just better. And every moment he just makes it better. So
Yeah, he's such a douchebag. I'd love to see you whoop his ass.
yeah. There's a lot of there's a lot of guys. Yeah, but I think those would be the top of the list.
See, well, if you could make it June 18th for the first night of the anniversary, we'd have a scramble match where the winner gets Ice Williams on the 19th. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I can't though.
I got you.
Yeah.
It's tough using guys that are good. They actually get booked elsewhere.
Yeah. No, that's a very true point. And Eli, that should make you feel very proud of your work, because here you have someone who is trying to woo you still, even though he knows that you are working, and he does it jokingly, but at the same time he's very serious about it. I mean, how do you feel about working to that point now where people look at you and go, we got to get this guy on a card?
I don't know. It feels good. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it feels good. It feels good getting recognition, because it happens in waves for me, like I'll be at a high point and, people will, want to book me, and then they'll kind of start to sink down, and then something happens and I'm just like back up at that point, but yeah. And it just goes to like one time I did a seminar with Rocky Romero, and he said that wrestling like comes in waves, and it comes in highs and lows, but the lows are still really good, and it's he couldn't be more right about it. It just, like it's always good, the highs and the lows, even at my lowest point, even Joe was booking me at my lowest point, and even that was great, and yeah, so it's always good. It's always good. And yeah, and right now I'm definitely at a high point. I'm at one of those high points right now, and it feels good, and I'll just see if it gets higher, or if I have to fight to get back up,
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's what that's wrestling, Yeah.
My question is, when it's FSW versus GCW, what side is Eli Everfly on?
Oh man, I'll wait till Joe gives me a FSW shirt first.
There you go.
It's a perfect setup for the old he comes out with the GCW shirt on and then takes it off, and he has the FSW shirt on underneath.
There you go. In the 6-man death match, he turns on GCW.
That'd be awesome.
Just out of curiosity, since we brought up GCW, have you ever worked, and if you haven't, would you ever like to work Nick Gage?
Oh no, I've never worked Nick Gage, man. That'd be pretty sick too, because he's like definitely. I'm a fan of Nick Gage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely. And I know he would want to wrestle me too, because he's said it before, like plenty of times. But yeah, man, like he's definitely on a list of people I want to wrestle before I die or something. Because I don't think he's gonna stop anytime soon, dude. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wrestled Funny Bone at one of our shows, but I think if we did a GCW FSW show and we did Funny Bone and Nick Gage with both crowds there, I think that would. The only problem is finding a venue that would let us, use 30 light tubes and stuff.
Yeah.
When you think, Eli, of what you've gone through in your journey, you're coming almost up on a decade of wrestling.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Man, anywhere that wants to book me. No, like I guess like long-term goals.
Yeah,
I've always wanted to wrestle in Mexico consistently, and um I've always like been flirting with the idea of going down there, But and I wrestled in CMLL once and like the Crash, a bunch of times, but I've never really had a consistent run down there. But I definitely would like to be involved in AAA or get like signed to AAA, or
sure.
even like because I think like before my goal was to wrestle on the East Coast and like CZW or something, and like Game Changer ended up picking me up randomly like in 2017, and and then since then it's just that like I didn't even know that was gonna be like the next big thing, I thought
Right.
like it was another place, and then yeah, and it blew up, and then I'm wrestling, on the East Coast a lot and like all over the place. So now I just like am thinking like, damn, I'm already like getting older, like I'll be 28 in a couple months, so I'm like thinking like, oh damn, I want to get signed, like what's going on, like I'm
Sure.
like looking around, like my friends are going, like people that I've trained are going, and stuff,
Yeah.
and it's like I'm still stuck here, but with a lot of other people too, yeah, but like now I look at yeah, like long-term goals, like I like that's what I want to do, but I definitely could see myself being in like AEW, or like
Sure.
205 Live or something. Um, like right now, I don't know. I don't know about like right now, but
Sure.
definitely like in the future. But right now, like my mindset is just on, getting better at my lucha and getting better at like implementing high flying and submissions together, so like yeah, because that's the style that I love and I'm like, that I want to master. And I think I could prove myself to be really good by wrestling at like AAA consistently, or
Sure.
even if like Lucha Underground does come back, because I was definitely gonna get signed to like Lucha Underground, I believe, like the next season, you know.
Yeah.
So like, and I like did a bunch of dark matches with them and everything. So I like that was definitely like a cool destination that I had in my mind, for like for a short time period at least.
Sure.
But that door closed, and yeah, that's definitely like the whole like lucha scene and the whole you know lucha crowd. I love it. It's part of my culture. It's part of my blood. And I just and I want to prove myself worthy. I guess
Sure.
before anything. Yeah, I want to before I do anything. I want to say that I did that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, Joe, let's talk a little bit about the other matches on the card Friday. Anything that really stuck out to you? Any performances that stuck with you? I know I had quite a bit of uh, just admiration for the way everyone seemed to step up their game to match. Everything was getting like just kept building, and then those two tagging against Unguided basically set the bar. And I would say that you could have taken Leo Rush, thrown him in that match, and those guys would have been on the same level Friday night as Leo was.
There's no doubt about it. When I was putting this show together, I wanted to really get the show off to a hot start. And by that, we made the scramble match first. And initially, it was going to be, Adrian Quest, Gatson, Cartwheel, Eli. And for some reason, I'm forgetting the fifth guy in the match.
Oasis, Jordan.
And Jordan Oasis. Well, Oasis wasn't going to be in the match. It was going to be Eli. And earlier in the day, Funny Bone's like, hey, we're trying to get things going, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we can, switch up the order. And I'm like, no, bro, this is the match that I want to start off the show. I want this match. And they delivered. They killed it,
Yep.
and, everybody wanted to go out there and have a great performance because all those guys were working their peers that a lot of people see great success in. Gatson's a guy who's been doing it forever and he still is doing it amazingly well.
Yeah.
Quest is this guy who's really starting to get it. and getting a lot of notice going around. Funny Bone, 20 years, and then you got Cartwheel, who's pretty new to the game, and a lot of people are saying, "Wow, this guy's pretty amazing." So to put him in there, and Jordan Oasis is another young kid out of Washington, and he held his own in the match. We saw him a couple weeks back against Cepha, and he did a good job. And he's extremely hungry. He makes his way down from Washington whenever. Like, hey, Joe, I'm available. Like, he'll get down here on his own anytime we have a show because he wants to be a part of it. So, to me, that set the bar, And as much as I like, even the 6-man tag was what it needed to be. And, trying to establish Toko Uso and Tito. And those are big plays. And those are guys that Hammerstone, all three of them he's going to have to get through. You know what I mean? And it's like, initially we were going to do a women's Maz versus Sandra Moon, but a couple other girls were in town and, decided that it would be best to give some opportunities and let the local girls, Sandra and Maz, get the chance to work some other people.
Yeah.
So, Christy Janes came in and did really well. And Jocelyn Navarro from OVW, she worked our women's show. So we knew, she was definitely, had the ability. Ice and Cepha, that could have been the main event easily, And the tag match was another match, that's what's called the Joe DeFalco style. That, oh, Joe, that's what Joe likes. And it's like, I like a lot of shit. But, yeah, I do like, the high-flying, entertaining style that, unfortunately, everybody, that's what's hot right now. You know what I mean? It's like people want to see cool shit. Nobody wants to see those 4-minute headlocks anymore. That isn't building heat. It's building boredom.
Right.
So, when you're going to have excitement, that's what we're looking at. And, Leo Rush and Trey Lamar, I have to admit it was a little more ground-based than I expected. I thought those guys were going to be flying all over the building. But, they had a really good match, but it was different than what I thought was going to be. And I'm pretty certain that Chris Bay and Leo Rush won't be very mat-based. But that's just my opinion. And then the main event was just electric because there was a lot of Jordan Oliver fans. And it was amazing to see. It wasn't, to me, like a wrestling event. It was like going to a football game and the Cowboys are playing the Giants and the crowd split where you're looking around to make sure the fans aren't fucking fighting each other. Like, they were going nuts for their own guys, and Hammerstone played very well into it. He kept eyeballing those guys, and the atmosphere was just through the roof.
Yep.
So, from beginning to end, I would have to say, that was, the best show that we've done in well over a year.
And on top of all the matches, we also get a hyper streak heel turn. What?
What do you mean a heel turn? I don't know what he did. He came in, maybe Jai Vidal said something bad about his mother before the show. I don't know.
Oh, man. It just, top to bottom, I can't say enough about.
That was a really nasty cane shot, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
It was like, I think it was the 11 years of built up anger from Hyperstreak since he's never won a championship in his life.
I don't know, man. I think the Aviators offered him a contract after seeing that swing, because that bat, it was a kendo stick that exploded like a baseball bat. It was unreal. And Jay had the I don't even know if it was just a nasty red welt. Yeah, it was, oh man. But it was a great show, very well done. This week, do you have is it Future Shock coming up this week on the network?
No, it's going to be next Friday, the 28th. I believe I deserve a well-earned break from everything that was going on. You know, it was really tough standing for 3 hours watching the GCW show and watching the Unguided and Eli go through as many doors as humanly. I was like, how many doors did they have under that fucking ring? Like,
I don't know.
every match had a door.
Yeah, they had a lot. They usually get like 30 doors, I think.
Wow.
I hope they get the Home Depot discount.
Oh, well, you know, speaking of the GCW show, Joe, you know, you've had experience with this happening, and that is John Moxley showing up, you know, right at the end of the event when you think it's over. Here comes Mox. You think, I know Mox and Gage are friends, very close friends, but do you think you might be able to coax Mr. Moxley when he's driving around on a Friday night to just wander in again to FSW and start kicking ass?
Well, here was the conversation I had with Moxley about a month ago. He needed to use the facility. He was doing some catch wrestling training with a student of Josh Barnett's. And I wasn't trying to get him to just pop in. I was trying to be like, hey, we're interested in booking you and paying you a booking fee, and, you know, love to maybe have you for the anniversary show. And his response was, well, you know, if I'm not doing nothing on a Friday night and I'm bored, maybe I'll just fucking pop in. And it was like he didn't really have any interest in like, hey, here's X amount of dollars. We'd love to advertise you and come in. It's kind of like on a whim. And I know he's pretty tight, obviously, with Brett at GCW. So I might be going about it the wrong way. Maybe we need to book that FSW versus GCW show. And maybe Moxley shows up against Hammerstone. Who knows?
You know, Eli, as we wrap up here, do you feel that when you get a chance to mix in with the guys at FSW, that you feel that you've kind of, from when you started to where you are now, that you feel comfortable and accepted by the guys as if you were, you know, living here and coming down to the, you know, the facility every week?
Yeah, you know, like even like ever since I first started, like everybody like from the school, they're just like really welcoming and inviting. And I always compare like every other place I go to like the FSW students and like just like, you know, the place, you know, and the vibes, you know, because they do everything right, you know, like they welcome you. Like if you're like an outsider, they're not like, they don't make you like come up to like them like, oh no, you're in my territory. Where I feel like it is like that a lot of places where, you know, you get the kids, they're like, who the hell are you, you know, or they kind of give you that attitude, you know. But, you know, it just, you know, every place is somewhat different, I guess. But yeah, I always compare it to like FSW because FSW was like one of the first places I wrestled like outside of Santino's, you know, and the impression I got was like, oh wow, everyone's cool, you know, and it wasn't like that everywhere I went. So yeah, and like most definitely, everyone's just so nice and inviting, and like the locker room is just it's really cool because everyone is like family there, and I do like think of like FSW as like a cousin, you know, per se, you know, like to like at least like in my career, you know, because like everybody's like they're family, you know, and they treat me like family too, you know. And I know other people feel the same way too, because I'm not the only one, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, no, our school isn't like b-boys and guys that are pricks like Jordan Cruz. You know what I mean?
And Eli, for people who might not follow you on social media, what's your social media so they can be more informed on what's going on in your career?
Oh, everything is at Eli Everfly. Like even my Gmail, if you want to get in contact with me, it's like Eli Everfly at Gmail. Yeah, very easy to contact.
Very simple. That was awesome. And Joe, as we get into a final word and a final thought, the anniversary show is officially announced for Friday and Saturday. It's the 17th and 18th.
18th and 19th.
19th. Sorry about that. So that's June 18th and 19th. And on June 18th, the main event will be Chris Bay versus Leo Rush. And what else do you have going on? Because I think I saw that there's some kind of 30-man.
Yeah, since Against All Odds has been off the shelf for over a year, that's the show that we do every year. We do the 30-man Rumble to open the show, and the winner wrestles in the main event against the champion. Well, this year, we're doing the 30-man Rumble on Friday night, and the winner will wrestle Hammerstone in the main event on Saturday night. And we've also just added a Nevada State Championship match, as Remy Marcel will defend against Sean Davari. So, that should be interesting. We're looking at doing a scramble match that the winner will get a shot at Ice Williams' title on the Saturday night. Sandra Moon and Maserati will wrestle for the women's championship. Not sure which night that is. R&B and Death Proof will finish off their best of 3 series. The winner, we're going to do that Friday night, and then the winner will wrestle the Unguided, if they're still champions, on the Saturday night. So, and there's a lot of other stuff that, that we're trying to still put together. I was kind of doing it earlier today. I got on the phone, who's available for the scramble, who's available for the Rumble. We got some, hopefully some good surprises. I was trying to get Brian Cage in as a surprise at the Rumble, but unfortunately, he was booked elsewhere. So now we got to look for some more surprises.
That is going to be an incredible event. 2 nights. Tickets are on sale now. If you go to the FSW website, you can order your tickets. And I do encourage fans to try to get those tickets sooner than later.
Yeah, we'll be sold out in less than a week. Between our regulars and what's available, we're going with the fact that the show will be at the FSW Arena. But I actually have a meeting today at 4:00 with the venue, so we're looking to go into a bigger venue, especially now that things have opened up more.
Yeah. So
I found out some really bad news. I saw the final Fighting Champions or whatever it was at the Rio was done. So I messaged the guy I knew about possibly getting that Fight Dome locked in. And unfortunately, what a waste of a room. That venue is basically going to be closed for good. And that's like one of the nicest, smaller venues in not only in Vegas, anywhere. It's a great spot and no use of it whatsoever.
That's sad. It's absolutely it was intimate yet big scale, and that sucks. But hopefully, knock on wood, if you find a spot and more fans are able to attend, that's going to be wonderful. I encourage again anyone to sign up for the FSW network so that you can keep your eyes open for fresh content and get shows like the Aftershocks and or the Future Shocks and other events that are not pay-per-view events, but you can also get the pay-per-view events there and as well as on FITE TV. Eli, it's been great having you on, man. And I can't wait to see, what's next the next time you're in town. It's a pleasure to watch.
June 5th, Eli Everfly will be at the FSW Arena. As we're going to add content to the sequel to Paul London, Please Don't Die, it's going to be Eli Everfly, Please Don't Die.
Well, there you have it. Eli Everfly in the Please Don't Die match, which I think is a new concept, Joe.
Yes. He escaped it this past Saturday, so.
Man, Eli, when they were training you, it didn't literally mean break down the doors to get into the business. So, you know, don't go through crashing through too many more doors. But we love everything you do.
I think. Yeah.
But we love what you do, brother. Keep it up. And listeners and viewers, thank you very much for tuning in. Joe, we'll talk to you again next weekend.
I'm going to head over to Home Depot and buy like 20 doors, so they're always on hand.
Well, I also, really quick, I can make an announcement for next week, Joe. I got a tag team to come on the show.
Got a tag?
Yeah, and you know what? I figured you talk about these guys a lot. Why not show the audience, if they're not familiar with them, who they are? And so next week, it will be the Suavecitos.
Oh, geez. I thought you were going to say the Reno Scum.
We're still working.
I thought you were going to, that's true. You didn't say you're going to have a good tag team on. You just said a tag team.
But at least, you know, listeners and viewers can get more acquainted with the Suavecitos, since you do talk about them a bit. So we will see that next week. And everyone, thank you very much for tuning in. Bye-bye.